And the Rebbe was explaining how we have two levels that really he divides into three. He speaks about that there is the idea of Chodesh Nissen. Chodesh Nissen is called Chodesh Harishon. It's the first level. Being that's the first level, it is about iskafia. It's about dealing with the Ra in such a way that you need to run away from it, like the Yidden had to run away from Mitzrayim. Then comes the Avodah of Sheni, Chodesh HaSheni Iyar, which is about the second month, meaning that in the second month the Avodah is about going and doing it in such a way where it's already ishapcha, because we're dealing with all the midas and transforming them. And now the Rebbe introduced that really in the second month there are two levels. There's one level, even ishapcha still deals with the bad, and there's a higher level that doesn't even come down to deal with the bad, to transform it. It is completely about hamshachas ha'oyer. And we connected this with the different spheres. The first level, Nisan, Pesach, that he was over the entranceway, that's the level of Malchus. The second level has to do with the sphere of Yesod. But in the sphere of Yesod itself, he explained two levels. The level of Yesod, that it comes and deals, but then there's the ultimate level of Yesod, that it's only about Oyer. So we're holding again on page 3, Reish Samach Vav, second line. Just like it's concerning the sphere of Yesod, in Yonish al Chodesh HaSheni b'Sfiras. It's the second month in the spheres, like we said, when we count the spheres, or we count the months going from the month of Nisan and Iyar, which is first and second, and you count the spheres in a way of first and second, going from bottom up. So then Malchus is first, and Yesod is second. Al derech zeu gam benegel avodah the spheres ha'omer, so too it's concerning the avodah of spheres ha'omer in Yonah shel Chodesh HaSheni b'avodas ha'adam. It's the whole theme of the second month in the avodah of a person. And we just now introduced that it's more than just being mevarer, the second avodah. It's about hamshachas ha'oyer. So how does that fit in with Sfira? So he's going to connect this idea with it being beyond the bitter of the Ra, the hamshachas ha'oyer, with one of the ideas of Sfira. So he says 4 lines from the top, she'ikir in yon lefi bir echad. The main idea of Sfiras Omer, according to one explanation, it's not about refining the character traits of Nefesh Bahamis, like we began to say before, that's the idea of Sfiras Omer, but rather Elam, Hamshachas Memtes Share Bina. It's actually about drawing down the 49 gates, the 49 levels of Bina. And it's not only stopping by that, but it's to lead eventually that through that comes down also the 50th gate. That's why it says Tispuru Chamishim Yoim. The older Mamarim explain. Why does it say Tispuru Chamishim Yoim? You shall count 50 days. You're not counting 50 days, you count only 49 days. But since the purpose and the goal of the counting of the 49 days is that it should result in a Serusad al-Eilam Tzad Atzma of the 50th level, so it's considered that we are counting, that's what we are aiming towards, and that's what we are also accomplishing, which means, it's about the Gili Ermal Mailam. The Rebbe says, L'fi Bir Echad, because in the footnote he brings down that in some Amarim it explains that sometimes that the avodah of Sfiras Omer is about both Sur Mara and Asay Toiv, and some places it's brought down that's only Sur Mara, sometimes it's brought down it's only Asay Toiv, which is again, this is the point that we're saying here about going to the utmost level, that it's not even about Ishapcha, but it's because even Ishapcha deals with the bad, but it's only about the revelation of light. So he goes on to say, based on what we just now introduced, that the Sfiras Omer is more than just, and the level of Chodesh Hasheni Iyar is not just about, or it's beyond just Ishapcha, which deals with bad, but it's Amshachas Ha'oyer. Therefore, we can explain the zone Gam Mashi'ir Rosh Tevis Avram Yitzchak Yaakov Rachel. Why is it Ir Rosh Tevis for those? These are called in Kabbalah the four legs of the chariot for Hashem. What does that mean? That indicates this same idea of not needing to engage with the Ra. What type of bitl is a vehicle? That means initially there is no place at all for any type of ego, and how much more so there's no room for bad. That you need to deal with a bitl. Like the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya concerning the Avos, are considered a Merkava. Why they called it Merkava? Why they called it vehicle for Hashem? They only became a vehicle for Hashem's will, only for that all their days. So that is the idea, meaning that there is no other mitzias, there is no other existence that there doesn't have to be dealt with, extracting anything or dealing or ishapchavdra, etc. So now the Rebbe sums it up. True, Nisan Chodesh Harishon is about iskafia, that for sure we're dealing with the bad, but how about Iyar? So he says in Ois Dalet, moving from all this is understood, the B'chodesh Iyar. Chodesh Hasheni, in the month of Iyar, the second month, Shnei and Yonim, the two concepts. Avoida the ishapcha, the avoida of transformation. Tachlis Hashlemis, the Sur Merah, the ultimate perfection of turning away from bad. V'avoida, the Yelchum B'chayil Choyl B'kedusha Asma V'asei Toiv. And additionally in Iyar, there's also the avoid of going from strength to strength in holiness itself and doing good. It's the ultimate perfection of turning away from bad, because you're not dealing with a skafia like in the first month. It's a sapcha. It's transformation of the bad. But even that is not the ultimate. The ultimate is the Asei Toiv, going higher in Kedusha itself. We could say this is the reason why, where it speaks about what took place in the second month, another event that took place in the second month, which embodies what the second month is about, was the count of the Bnei Yisrael. But here he's not talking about the activity, but he's talking about who did it. Who counted the Bnei Yisrael in Rosh Chodesh Iyar, second year after the going out of Mitzrayim? That was specifically Moshe and Aaron. Why did it have to be both Moshe and Aaron? The idea of turning away from bad, that's in the second month. Shaykh Aaron is connected to Aaron. The idea of Aaron is that someone that loves peace and pursues peace. What does that mean? Well, as soon as you talk about the need for peace, that indicates that there is a problem that we need to find a solution of peace. The idea of peace is to negate dispute and separation. So that means that Aaron is still something that has to do with a negative, like the higher level, the shleimus of Sur Merah that we spoke about, is one level in Iyar. The idea of doing good of the month of Iyar, the higher level, the level of just drawing down light without any engaging in the bad, Shaykh L'Moshe is associated with Moshe. The idea of Moshe is Torah, like it says, Zichru Torahs Moshe Avdi, it says in Malachi, that Torah is something that's called by Moshe's name. There is no room for anything that's opposite, like it says, that it brings in the footnote note that Divrei Torah eina mekablim tuma, So even a person that's Tommy can sit and learn Torah, because Torah is beyond being susceptible to anything negative. That means the ultimate level of good, the second level in Iyar. This is also what it says concerning Moshe Rabbeinu, that as soon as he was born, she saw that he was good. Immediately when he was born, the house was filled with light, indicating that by Moshe Rabbeinu, the idea of light and goodness was his whole metzias. It wasn't about engaging with bad. So that's why the second month is associated with the counting in the second month. But the main emphasis that Rebbe says over here, the second month was associated both with Moshe and Aaron, because the second month both has the shleimus of Sur Merah, the level of Ishapcha, and it has also the Asay Toiv, which is the idea of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Hamshachas HaOyer itself. So now the Rebbe asks, if so, let's look at the other side. Yitzias Mitzrayim, going out of Mitzrayim, was not about this great revelation of light. We said Yitzias Mitzrayim is only Rishon, it's only the first month. It's only the lower level in engaging in bad. It's not even the shleimus of Sur Merah. It's only a skafia. That's why it had to be Kibarach Ha'am. So how come both Moshe and Aaron were involved? Shloimar, top of the next page. The fact that going out of Mitzrayim took place both through Aaron and Moshe. After avoided Yitzias Mitzrayim, he Sur Merah. Though the avoid of going out of Mitzrayim is turning away from bad. Ubesur Merah Gufa, Ba'ifendis Kafia, and then turning away from bad itself. In what way was it? The lower level of Sur Merah, the level of just sublimating the bad. They had to run away from it. So where does Moshe, that he's toiv and he's oir and he's beyond Torah and he's beyond any type of level of bad, where does he fit into that process? So the Rebbe says, "Hukigam avoid this kafia," because even the avoid of his kafia, has to be in such a way that it should bring not only ishapcha, which is what's brought down. There's a lashon in the Mamarim that says iskafia hamevil de ishapcha. That's what it's a certain expression that's brought down the Mamarim, but it's beyond that as well. Not just iskafia, and not just iskafia is supposed to bring to ishapcha, but the goal is supposed to be right over there at the beginning by iskafia legam laavoida ba'akab levasei toiv shalomayim min nabirurim. Right away, even though he's in the lowest level, the level of Chodesh Harishon, the level of Iskafia, Kibarach Ha'am, Yitzias Mitzrayim, engaging with the bad, dealing with the bad, even there, one needs to be aiming and realizing that the goal and the purpose where he's reaching for is the level of Asay Tov. Shloimar could say, this is similar to what's explained in Tanya, even those people that their main avoid is Alti Hirasha. It says over there in the beginning of Tanya, Mashbir Moisa, he brings down the Gemara, that make the person take an oath, Tihi Tzadik v'Alti Hirasha. You should be a Tzadik, should not be a Rasha. And Alter Rebbe explains that really we're talking about two different types of people. There are people who have the neshamas of a Tzadik. For them, we say the Shvuah, Tihi Tzadik, because that's in their capability. Then there are those people that do not have a neshama of a tzaddik, which, as Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, this is not within our choice to be the level of the neshama of a tzaddik. We only have the potential to be a beini. So for them, we say the Shvuah, Al Tihi Rasha. Be a beini, don't be a Rasha. But Alter Rebbe then goes on and says that every Yid, every neshama takes the Shvuah, Tihi Tzadik v'Al Tihi Rasha. How come? If the Tihi Tzadik is not applicable to me, it's not possible for a neshama of a beini to become a tzaddik, why do we tell a person, why they even make an oath that the neshama takes Tihi Tzadik? So he says, because even those, in other words, even the people that are on the level that they only could reach to be a beini, that for them, they make the Shvuah Al Tihi Rasha, tzrichim lishtadl lekaim es hashvuah Tihi Tzadik. They have to put an effort to fulfill the oath, even that other part that seemingly is not associated with them, that you should be a tzaddik. And the tzaddik, the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, there's two components to how he functions or how he is spiritually. One thing is that a person needs to try, even though he's only on the level of Alti Rasha, even though he's only on the level of Neshama V'Beini, he has to put in work to not to despise bad, just like the tzaddik would be, because of the sabcha, he despises bad. And also another aspect of the tzaddik is that his ava, his love, is not a love kirish pe'esh. His love is a love ava b'tanugim. So he should also try to experience a delight and a joy in Hashem through His bonus, B'gdul Ein Sof Baruch Hu, through meditation and the greatness of the Ein Sof. So this idea of even someone that's holding by the level of iskafia has to aim for both ishapcha and the meditation and the greatness of the Ein Sof. The tainug and simcha Hashem through meditation, the greatness of the Ein Sof, is similar to what we said now about Asay Toiv, that's higher in ishapcha. It's avoided the kedusha shalom mailam in haberudim. It's the avoided in kedusha itself, in bringing down the holy light itself, that's higher than refining the sparks, higher than elevating, even elevating in a way of ishapcha. It's only Asay Toiv. It's not even the shleimus of Sur Meram. So that's why Moshe, who's about Asay Toiv, the ultimate level, the second, the highest level in Iyar, is even involved in Yetzias Mitzrayim, because even when we're in a level of iskafia, we need to be aiming towards not just Sur Merab Shleimus Isapcha, but even the level of Moshe Rabbeinu, the level of the Gilui in Kedusha itself, Asay Toiv. I say, V'hinei al derech zeh hu li'idach yisa. So here the Rebbe says another thing, that just like in iskafia, the aim and the feeling and the goal has to be towards the ishapcha, the same thing has to be in the ishapcha. Even once we've left the bad behind, we need to still have something to do with the level of iskafia. How and what way that is? So he says, even when we find ourselves in the avodah of the month of Iyar, avoided this hapchem, that lower level of the month of Iyar is avoid of transforming the bad, and even higher than that, Ulamayla Yoser has avoided the Merkava, like the others were Rashi Tevis Iyar Avram Yitzchak Yaakov Rachel, that shows that it's completely not involved with the bad. It's only Am Shochem Al Mailam. So then, even on such a level, we cannot leave go of the past iskafia. Sarachlias roishem mehachayas vayespailos shall avoid the iskafia. There's iskafia. There needs to be an impression left from the vitality, the energy, the excitement of the avoid of iskafia. Here is a very important point, and this is going to be elaborated upon. That iskafia, fighting, battling, is much more passionate than if everything is just smooth sailing. If things are in the way of isapcha, and especially if things are just gilim al maila, so it's quiet. There's no excitement. There's no passion. There's just, I'm floating on these clouds of kedusha. I'm not engaging. Iskafia was that battle. That battle, that excitement, and that passion of that battle has to be sensed even when we reach the level of ishapcha and higher, the level of markava. And we see this from another thing. That's the reason why Yitzias Mitzrayim, which is the idea of iskafia, as we mentioned before, is something that even when Mashiach comes, it says in the Haggadah, that we will also still mention Yitzias Mitzrayim. We'll still say Parshas Vayomer and Krishma. Even though in the days of Mashiach there won't be the avodah v'iskafia, and there'll definitely be this ultimate level of iyar that's beyond this hapche, even just asay toiv. Still in all, we have to recollect and bring to the fore that excitement and that passion of the Skafia Avodah Yitzias Mitzrayim. That's why even when Mashiach comes, we're going to mention Yitzias Mitzrayim. Though the miracles of Mashiach's times will be wonders, even in comparison to Mashiach's times. The idea behind this is the when the bad is in its full force, the fear of the bad, the causes the running away from it in a way of a rush. Like it says that when Mashiach comes, you won't go out b'chipazim. But when they went out of Mitzrayim, the reason why the dough didn't rise was because they went out b'chipazim. They went out with a rush. And there's it's even brought down va'idei ha'chipazim the Yisrael nasagam chipazim ashchina kaviyachol, through the Yidden being in a rush. That also caused the chipazon of the Shechina, that the Shechina was in a way of excitement, in a way of a rush, etc., etc. There's a Maimer Chazal that speaks about that, where it speaks about the idea of chipazon, that there was the idea of a rush. Who was rushing? And it says all different types of ways of explaining the rush. If it's talking about the rush of the Klal Yisrael were being rushed out, or it was chipazon of the Mitzrayim, or the chipazon of the Shechina was rushing to fulfill the promise to Avram, etc. So over here, the Rebbe connects them and says that the rush and excitement and the passion of the Yid and the avodah of Iskafia causes the chipazon of the Shechina, like it says in the pasuk, that the Shechina is likened to a gazelle, a deer that's medalig al harim, mekapes al agvois. He skips over the mountains, he jumps over the hills, meaning the chipazon, our avodah of the passion and excitement and rushing, that brings about that Hashem's level was a way of chipazon, a level of skipping and jumping beyond any type of order and a step-by-step process. That is all what you're doing with a skafia. But if you're holding at the level of a sapka, all the excitement and all the rush and all the running, it's nothing but to run from. You could, what are you running? As opposed to the avoid of transformation of the clipper. After you already left the bad, as opposed to, and how much more so when it comes to the avoid of Asay Toiv, is in an organized fashion, and a step-by-step fashion. Therefore, you need to draw down the idea of the skipping and jumping of going out of Mitzrayim. And that's the idea of Zeu Inyan Pesach Sheni. Pesach means the skipping. But even though it's in Sheni, the Rebbe says, even though it's a level that seemingly has nothing to do with jumping, it's still going to be Pesach over there. Hamshachas hadilug ba'avoida devasei toiv ha'avoida chayda sheni, to draw down the skipping, the avoid of doing good, the avoid of the second month, meaning shalachri hadilug shahaya ba'avoida desur merah pesach rishon, after the jumping and skipping that wasn't the avoid of turning away from bad, which is Pesach Rishon, that because of the skafia and so on, there was the jumping and so on. So now we have the continuation of that. So now even in the avoid of the second Pesach, there's the avoid of the Sheni, not even the avoid of the second Pesach, but even the avoid of Sheni, of Iyar, of the level of Ishapcha, and the level of Asay Toiv. You also have Pesach, you also have Dilug, just like you have Maskini Tzias Mitzrayim Baleilos, Maskini Tzias Mitzrayim Limoisa Mashiach, that even at the time past Iskafia, we also bring in the excitement of the Iskafia and Chipazon of earlier, as we will go on to explain tomorrow.